Barclays Africa Group, formerly Absa, of course, then got sucked into the Barclays Group. Then Barclays put in all of its other African activities. And then a couple of months ago, they announced they're looking to sell down their stake in the whole business. That's a decision that Barclays Plc made at the top in London. Jess Staley, their new CEO, deciding that he wanted it to look more like the JP Morgan, which is where he came from. Seems a weird decision, but of course Basel III forced them to recognize the full liabilities of the whole 100%, even though they only owned like 65 or something. In the news overnight because they just sold down to 50%. Rowan can tell us about that. Market capitalization at the current share price is 111.7 billion rand. Price earnings ratio 7.81. That's super low, and historically the dividend yield coming up is a 7.52. So the share price obviously become somewhat depressed with all of this heavy selling, downward pressure from the controlling shareholder wanting to exit.
Yeah, absolutely. I think there's been a sort of medium-term overhang because of Barclays Group's announcement to sell down, and it was maybe a little bit of surprise, the timing, but they sold down to 50.1% to place the 12.2%.
In an accelerated book build. That's a big chunky, it's like $900 million worth of stock. I mean, that's...
And what was very positive, they got it away fairly easy. It seemed like there was very strong demand from domestic investors. As you mentioned, those...
When you say domestic investors, was it South African investors mostly who took the stock?
So what's happening is obviously the free float increases as well because they're freeing up shares. All those SWIX benchmark followers actually need to buy to increase their stakes. So a lot of index buying as well. So good demand. In fact, I mean, look at those valuation metrics, very attractive. PE of less than 8, dividend yield of 7.5. If you're looking for value in the banking sector, this looks like the best.
And again, they've got the customers, and so it's going to roll forward. So there's the share price. 5 years, not looking all that flash. Management succession, there's been a bit of a thinning out of the team. Now they've got to do the rebranding. They presumably won't stick with the Barclays Africa. There's no point spending any money on that again. So what is it, back to Absa now? What's going to happen with all of that?
I think that is creating a little bit of confusion, and they are going to have to work through that. I was at the Absa Cape Epic. They had blue tents this year. Apparently they're not going to have blue tents next year. It's going to be back to Absa Red. So those are just some of the sort of implications. Yes.
The sign writers must be crying now, because but they'll probably dig out a whole lot of new stuff.
Yeah, but if we look at the cooperation, South Africa and Africa, I think very strong franchise. I think the African business is solid. It's been there a number of years. It now is part of the Absa Group, the Barclays Africa Group, where it was part of Barclays. So I think they've got a good asset there and a potential for medium-term growth.
So you're hot on this one because you think the price is just ludicrously low?
Yes.
Okay, good. There you go. Hot on Barclays Africa. I'll follow that too.